lot of webinars happening. That seems to be the time when most people turn up.
Yeah, I think this is a virtue of time zones today, wherever in the world everybody is. So we'll give it one more minute, guys, then we will get started. Just while we're waiting to get going, everyone, just let me know, A, can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear John? Can you see John? Yes, we are recording. Let me know in the chat if you can see us okay and hear us okay.
Well, Tim Frechette, good to see you, Tim. We've got a couple of consulting champions here, Rob.
David, which country are you in today? Are you in France or are you in the US? David's in Austin. You lucky man. Lucky man. We'll be talking more about Austin later.
Yes. Oh, Tim Frechette landed a client today. That's awesome. Congratulations, Tim.
Hey, I like that. We like clients. Roofer, nice one.
Mm.
Roofers are great. I like dealing with roofers.
Yeah.
The thing with the roofer is one win for a roofer and they win like 25 grand. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Richard, 1 a.m. in London. Wow, that's tough.
Thanks for being here, Richard. That's awesome, man. 1 a.m., that's commitment. That's commitment to your business. We'll definitely make it worth your while. Okay,
we'll get this going, shall we, John? I'm conscious it's top of the hour. I want to be respectful of time for ourselves and for everybody else on this webinar. So good evening, everybody. Bit of a different session today for many, many reasons. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Rob Warner. I'm founder at InvisiblePPC.com. And I've got my special guest, Mr. John Logar, with me here today. And I'll give John a proper introduction in a second if you don't know John, and I'm sure he can do that himself as well. Today's webinar is unusual for several reasons. Number one reason, we're doing it at an unusual time of day. And the reason that we're doing it at an unusual time of day is that I'm in Chicago today, kicking off a project that's going to be very, very important to Invisible PPC, our partners and their customers. So we're kicking off something that I won't tell you what we're kicking off just yet, other than it's probably the biggest thing we've ever done as a business. It's costing me a scary amount of money, but I think the payback for our clients and their partners will be huge, which is why we're here and why we're doing it. So it means that, and as John is currently on the Gold Coast, it's a great time of day for us to actually be able to connect and do this session for you. So for anybody in the UK, I feel your pain. I'm normally sitting where you're sitting. And come Saturday afternoon, I'll be kind of crashed off an aeroplane, struggling to just stay awake while I drive my way back up the M1 to get home. So that's unusual and that we're doing it this time. So for those of you who are here live, appreciate that. Second thing that's unusual is the way we're going to do this is different to normal. John and I are going to have essentially a conversation, and you get to eavesdrop on that conversation. You get to fire in questions as we go along. We'll pick them up later on in the session, but if you fire them in as they come to your mind, if we don't tackle them immediately, we'll tackle them later on. It's going to be a cross between John and I just chatting, me firing questions, picking John's brain, and adding in insights that I can into this process. So John, for those of you who don't know, is in my world, in my view, the undisputed king of building agencies. If you've got an agency or a consulting business, either that is just opening its doors for the first time, or is already established and looking to go faster, then you need to talk to this man as quickly as you possibly can, because there is nothing that he can't tell you about how to do that, and has some very personal experiences in doing that himself and for many others. So pay attention. And also with that in mind, John talks quite fast, usually has lots to say. So we are recording this, and when people say, what I do is I record webinars and I watch them on double speed backwards, so I get through them afterwards, so I can get through them quicker. If we will be recording this, when we put the replay out, you can probably watch it half speed and catch it with John. So go the other way. That's the way to go with it. So that's my recommendation.
I appreciate that. I'll be mindful of my cadence.
No, it's important. Go fast, get plenty in, let people slow it down after the fact.
Absolutely.
That's the way we do this. Let's not skimp on the value for that sake.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, other thing, why today's subject? Often as agency owners and businesses in this industry, we get asked about, the most common question we ask is, how do I get a new client? How do I prospect? How do I do those kind of things? And we answer that question frequently. John has previously done some brilliant training with us about how to prospect, how to win new clients. And it's one of the things he does extremely well. I wanted to take things up a level today to think less tactical and more strategic. And the more strategic piece of this is, if you think about building your business as a business you might ultimately sell, you think and you behave differently. And if you think and behave differently and you elevate your objective to ultimately selling, whether or not you actually intend to sell doesn't matter. If you start thinking like an owner and stop thinking like a manager, you have a very different approach to running your agency. And I think you'll find that whether you are a solopreneur, it's just you, or whether you're building a team, the way you approach decisions and the decisions that you make for your business will change, will be different, and they will be better quality when you start thinking about your business as an asset that you ultimately might sell. Let me just give you an example of what can happen if you do sell. And this is an interesting one. A guy that I know personally, and in fact, I had a meeting with him last week. It was last week, the week before, about 10 days ago now. He bought a business that I know personally. He bought this business as an agency, and he bought it for £1. And he bought it for £1 in, I think it was early January 2017. £1. So this is £1 he paid cash up front for that business. It was already an established agency. But it was an established agency where the owners were burnt out because the owners were managers. They were tired. They'd been running the business. They were in it every day. They were exhausted. They were making bad decisions. So they sold it to him for £1 and they left. And they left with relief, but without a business, because the weight had been lifted off their shoulders of running this business. He sold that business 11 months later for multiple seven figures. Multiple millions 11 months later. And fundamentally, it was the same business. But he'd gone in, made a handful of small but important decisions as an owner, not a manager. The business changed. He was able to turn it around for many, many times profit on that. And then took 3 months off in Spain, sitting on a beach, basically. And now does other things to grow his next business. So whether you're here because you want to grow and scale effectively, or you want a better quality business to live and work in every day, or whether you ultimately want to sell, doesn't matter. The process is the same. The outcome may be different, but either way, you win. And that's the really good bit. Whether you buy it, whether you build your business to keep, build your business to sell, you still win. So with that said, let's get this going, shall we, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's move into gear.
I've done this 7 times. I've done this 7 times in my life, and 3 were absolute disasters, and 4 were good deals. Right? 3 were earnouts, and 4 were sellouts. And so, this is something, and you touched on it earlier on. At the end of the day, we start with the end in mind. If you really want to build a business rather than a job, if you're thinking of this business as something that's going to give you cash flow, something that's going to give you revenue, make a couple $100,000. Yes, you can do that, but you're always going to be chasing your tail. You're always going to be bringing on new clients, and you're going to be working in the business. But if you want to actually look at building a business where you work on it rather than in it, the old Michael Gerber scenario, then you need to start thinking very differently from the very beginning. And a couple of ways to give you perspective is I've actually established businesses where we actually went to the potential buyer first and said, if we were to build a company and we were to select a certain number of clients to bring into this company, what type of clients would you be interested in? What do you want this agency to look like? And we'll go and build it, and then we'll sell it to you, right? But we didn't have that conversation with one agency. We had that conversation with half a dozen agencies, and so we kept them up to date in progress. To let them know what was happening with the business and what clients we were generating. And then in the end, it turned into a Dutch auction, meaning highest bidder wins, right? But the idea, they knew everybody was in on the deal, right? So that's a very unique way of doing it. But it worked brilliantly. And to give you perspective on sizes of businesses that are selling right now in the agency world, and I've seen quite a few, both in the United States, in the UK, and in Australia. Recently, just in Australia, 3 agencies sold. They were running between $1.5 and $2 million worth of revenue in their businesses, and they've sold between $8 million and $11 million for those agencies. So 1.5 to 2 million sold for $8 million to $11 million for those agencies. I just saw a $2.5 million agency in the US sell for $15 million. I just saw a UK agency that was just under 1.8 million pounds, sold for 8 million pounds.
John, your audio's just gone.
Right. So it has nothing to do with the value based on net value asset or net profit. It's more to do with the value of the intellectual property, the systems, the client base, the list, and their standing within their market. And so that just gives you, I hope it gives you an understanding. And let me tell you, these opportunities, by the way, are getting bigger and bigger. There's a couple of companies out there right now that have just bought, one company bought 18 agencies and just did an IPO on the 18 agencies, and they raised $80 million in capital for 10% of the group value of those agencies. And none of those agencies were turning more than $1.5 million in revenue. None of them. So so that just gives you a perspective of some of the crazy numbers.
Likewise.
That are out there.
Just to add to that, John, I know a friend of mine is an investor who is currently looking for any agency doing 200,000 in net a year, and they're paying 6x on the revenue on the net.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
The deals are there.
Huge returns, huge opportunities. So
can I ask a question of the audience before we go further?
Yeah.
And it's a really important question, this that will be interesting to see where everybody's at with things. Okay, just give me a in the chat, if you think that right now you are building an asset, whether it's just you or whether you have a team, are you building the way you're running your business today? Are you building an asset? Put the word asset in the chat. Or if you believe that what you actually have is a job with risk, put the word job in the chat. It's 50-50, I think, in the chat.
50-50. Yeah.
So, guys, so anybody who is already believes they're building an asset, awesome. That's the place to be. If you have a job with risk, then I suggest pay ultra careful attention to everything we say over the next hour or so, because let's get you out of that risky job and get you into a an asset building mindset, because that's where the real money is. And that's where the fun is as well. Don't forget, building an asset's fun. Having a job, not so much.
So just to give you a perspective on building an asset, right now I'm a partner in an agency. We went from $1.5 million to $12 million in just over a year. We're now, by the end of this year, we'll be doing $20 million in that agency. By the end of 2020, we'll be doing $100 million worth of revenue. And we are building a huge asset by not just, and we're constantly developing and building the systems, because the pressure on the business for that type of growth rate is absolutely crazy. So some key learnings in building your business. Probably the biggest mistake that most people make is when they're running the job type business is they're hiring VAs and project managers, right? And so this becomes probably the most key hire that you'll have if you're going to start to build an asset, because you have to have a vision for your business. You want to know, for us to sit around, we had a conversation just in Anaheim 2 weeks ago with our entire team, where we sat there and said, here's what our $100 million company looks like. Here's what has to happen between now and that time for us to hit that outcome and objective. Here's what's got to happen from a hiring point of view, what we're going to look like as a company, who we have to bring in, what expertise, what knowledge, what systems, what structures we have to invest in. So we're looking at it from a very big picture point of view first off, right? And it's really funny that the number one criteria in our ability to grow is our hiring. And the number one hire, especially if it's in a small business, couple 100,000 plus, is an operations manager. Not a VA, not a project manager, but an operations manager. And you need to have, that operations manager may not stick with you all the way through. They may only get you to certain stages. So we have an operations manager that'll probably take us to about 30 million. At that 30 million stage, that operations manager, we may have to change to another operations manager who can take us to $100 million, right? Because their skill set, their knowledge, and their strategic thinking is at a different level, right? So the reason why I say the first hire as an ops manager is operations builds the structure of your company. Sales, admin, systems, client support, IP protection, knowledge management. Those are the key areas that your operations manager is in charge of, because it is the operations of the day-to-day running of your company. And so they're responsible for people who are responsible for those other key areas. When you're just starting out, you'll have multiple roles in your business. So you might have somebody who's in marketing, who's also doing lead gen, they might even be doing sales with you in the early days. But then that's going to turn into a sales manager, and then a salesperson and a lead generator. And so you're going to start to expand that team. So the key hire, and this is the thing, you've got to have a big picture of where you want to go. That's the first thing. Most people don't. I know a lot of people start an agency business. They say, hey, I just want to make 10 grand a month. I want to make 20 grand a month. I want to make 30 grand a month, right? Well, that's great. But that's not really a business. That's not a vision. That's just a number, a monthly number. And from there, you're going to make some money out of that and pay some taxes out of that, right? You're operating your business as if the funds in the business are your own. If you're operating a business properly, then what you're going to do is you're going to start to build structures, right? So first hire, operations manager.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that as well, John, as well, from my experience, the first person I hired for InvisiblePPC was an operations manager. And I'll just talk about that for a second. Who on this call today thinks that they are a really good ops manager, and who thinks they're good at entrepreneur? For me, I'm a really good entrepreneur. I'm a terrible ops manager. Operations managers tend not to start businesses because they're good at operations. They're not good at being entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurs tend to suck at being an ops manager and do a really poor job of it. And I'm classic in that respect. Here's a thought though. When you're a solo person, if you're just starting your journey, putting a person on your payroll as an ops manager and giving them a responsibility can feel scary as heck. But the first thing that I found when I did it is the moment you do that, a weight lifts off your shoulders. Because the day before, you know that if you go out and make a sale, who does that extra workload fall upon to get it delivered, handled, and deal with the client? You. So do you push as hard for that next sale as you should do? No, because if you're already busy, you can't. There's a part of your brain resists. It goes, I want the sale, I don't want the work. I want the sale, I don't want the work. The moment you have an ops person in place, that weight goes, you're now free, and you can go, right, I can go and sell something, feel comfortable in the knowledge that when I walk that order back through the door of my office, I can go, this is yours, you deal with this, go and deliver it. And I found that when I hired an ops manager, my revenue grew to absorb the cost of that ops manager within about 6 weeks. My revenue would have not grown by that much in 6 weeks had I not had somebody there to take it and a salary to pay. So it changes your mindset completely. And I strongly encourage everything that John just said. It's a really smart way to go about it because it changes your world.
The other thing also, and like you say, within 6 months, it was a huge difference to your business. When you hired your first operations manager, you didn't get that person on full time. They were part time for you.
I hired part time. Yeah. We agreed we'd try and get to full time within 6 months. We were full time within 2 months and profitable on his salary within about 10 weeks.
Isn't that amazing?
Best decision.
Yeah, and that's the thing. One of the things that I've often found that when we're hiring, we're growing. Like if we hire, in every business that I've worked in, when we've hired people, we've been on the growth. We just keep going on the growth trajectory because in our mindset, it's like, great, well, we've got more capacity to expand, so we've got to make sure that we're consistent in bringing on clients to the business. And so there's this huge shift that occurs when you start bringing other people into the responsibility, and your responsibility grows as well, because the difference between somebody running a multi-6-figure business and a multi-7-figure business, there's only one difference between the two. It's a decision. You make a decision that that's the type of business you're going to run right at the beginning. Right? You either choose to run the multi-6-figure, or you're making a decision to take on the responsibility of building a 7 or multi-7-figure business. And those businesses tend to grow faster when the person who is there making that decision is deciding, because then your frame of reference changes. The way you approach your business changes. The way you start thinking about how you do business changes in that moment, because a 7-figure business is running the same cost as a multi-6-figure business. So to run your 7-figure business is roughly going to cost you roughly what you're generating as a multi-6-figure business from that. So that's a really important thing in terms of scaling. And margins, profit margins are key. Metrics are key. I just spoke to, I don't know if anybody knows who Dan Martell is, and I spoke to an offsider or a guy who founded a company called Parakeeto. And they talk about, the importance of your data, your metrics, right? Knowing your numbers right at the very beginning. And it's an exercise that I'm taking one of my consulting champions through at the moment, that in the last 12 weeks, they generated $120,000 worth of revenue in a 12-week period, which was great. But then we started to look at, what did it cost you to facilitate and service? Do we need to actually change our pricing structures? And so by pulling that data and looking at our accounts and seeing the numbers, we were sitting and saying, hey, these areas here, not so profitable. We either eliminate them or we increase the pricing of those things. Look at our core offering. Can we get our margins to a 70-30 margin? At a 70-30, 70% GP, 30% cost, including your salary in the cost, right? You've got a very, very healthy agency. The average agency, by the way, in the world is running at a 25 to 30% gross, which is terrible. Terrible.
Really?
Right? Average agency in the world is running at 25 to 30% gross. Those agencies are not making any money. They're not making any money. Got lots of revenue, got lots of turnover, not profiting. But if you look at agencies that are structured correctly in your margins, this is the thing that you need to know your margins. If you know your margins, you can scale and grow. If you have surplus in your business, that cash, instead of chewing up that cash on unnecessary expenses, that cash should be used to leverage your business and hire and market more so that you can expand. So as long as your costs are covered and as long as your own personal salary is covered and you end up with a surplus, that surplus should be used to expand and grow your business. So another critical thing is know your margins and your costs of delivery, because that's going to have a huge impact on the profitability of your business and what you keep as an asset. So at $1 million, your net profit should be $250,000. That's what your net profit should be after tax, right? Your gross around 300,000, including your salary. If you're paying yourself 100 grand or 150 grand, that includes your salary, right? And your team's salary, right? And then you've got marketing costs and other operational costs that go along with that. But $1 million business should be returning a return of 250,000 net, net that you get to keep as an asset at the end of the business. So that just gives you some understanding.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about something else with that, John. I 100% agree in terms of metrics. That's where you want to be. That's what makes it worthwhile, and good agencies can do that. An interesting point that tied together the last two things we just said. We've talked about hiring an operations manager. We've talked about building solid margins, and scaling, and building cash. Both of those things do a part of achieving one thing, and then one thing is actually one of the most important things you can do to increase your value of your business, and that's decrease risk. The less risk you have in your business, the more valuable it is, because an investor can come in and buy it and be fairly confident the business they buy today will still be there tomorrow. And so think, if you have a healthy margin and you're generating cash, there's a pretty good chance you're going to survive. And they can see that, and they can see it because it appears in your bank account. It's not hard to find. Look to see if the money's in the bank. If it is, it's probably being generated out of profit. And if you have an ops manager, suddenly you've got half the risk in the business, because now jobs are being done by two people. And what's the first thing that a good ops manager does? He comes in, he has to learn the business. And what does he do when he learns the business? He writes it all down and documents everything. So now you've got process. So now your risk goes down even more. So if you think about what an investor looks at when they want to buy you, and the flip side to that is assuming you want to stay in business as a business owner, taking away risk is a really good thing to do. It's impossible to grow a business that's dead. If your business is dead, you can't grow that thing. And it doesn't grow, it doesn't die because of many things other than risk. Too few clients, too much dependency on one client, too much dependency on a single person. All these things are risk. Get rid of the risk, the business value goes up, and your business, who enjoys running a really risky business wondering, am I going to make payroll this month?
Absolutely. And it's not good. And the other thing to look at risk is every process and every system you build becomes an asset to the business. It actually adds significant value in terms of intellectual property. If you have products within your business that you promote, these are either digital assets or physical products. All these things add value to the business. I actually sold a business once where we sold the actual client, but we separated the list. And we sold they actually had to pay more for the list. So we kept the list and we gave them the actual client base, but we didn't give them our list, right? So when we sold the list for $2 million, just the list, because the value in that list, the curation of that list and the relationship was a very high relationship. So it was an incredibly valuable list. So that became an asset in and of itself that added an extra $2 million worth of revenue to the business. Now, what most people do is they would sell the list with the business, not separating it as an asset.
Absolutely.
So different parts of your business become very valuable. Your list, your systems become very valuable. If you look at every franchise group in the world, what they're selling is an operating system. They're selling a guarantee that if you follow our system and our processes that you're going to have a much better success of your business than starting one on your own. And so this is why franchise groups charge, look at McDonald's, $2 million. And you have to actually work in a McDonald's restaurant for a year before you actually have your own restaurant. So you have to put $2 million cash down, work on a basic salary, and then you get to run your business. But here's the clever thing. Most people that own a McDonald's restaurant actually don't run a McDonald's restaurant. A 19-year-old kid is running your $2 million a year business because of the systems and the processes and the value in the operating structure. So the operating system in and of itself is a huge asset to the business, a huge asset. So completely, with what Rob's saying, completely diminishes the risk in that business, because there's no open gaps or open structures that can allow things to fail rapidly. So that's an insurance that we have a process. We can see that it's documented. We actually have metrics, key performance indicators that we can actually track and see that are applied to those processes. So that's a huge thing. Is that's what we do in our business. Is we're constantly improving the operating procedures, and our people are the people that are constantly adjusting our operating procedures, not us, not the managers. The managers don't do operating manuals. The people that actually use or run the systems have to be mindful of improving the systems as they go along. And so that becomes a really key part of that as well. Training becomes a valuable package, a valuable asset in the business. The way you train your salespeople, your staff, your operations, your customer support, your admin, those trainings become a huge asset, a sellable asset to the business. All of these things, each of these items that you add as an asset diminishes the risk significantly, but also increases the value significantly as well, because it makes it a no-brainer for somebody to come in and go, you know what, this is a solid business, it's running, it's got a good team, it's got good leadership, got a good client base, there's sustainability, they've got their agreements in place, they're in compliance, tick, 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 tick. This is an ideal business to buy.
Yeah. And guys, I wouldn't want anyone to misunderstand and think, oh my goodness, this is really hard. Because actually, it's not difficult. Here's what I do. And it was really simple. Came out of a meeting I had with a colleague of mine in January this year. And by the way, Veronica, the list is the email list of prospects, is what John's talking about. It's his prospect database. I suspect for a $2 million valuation, it was more than just an email list. It was researched, had background data and all that kind of stuff. But fundamentally, it's a list of prospects that are qualified. Here's what I do for risk in my business. And by the way, my number one priority as a business owner is reducing the risk in my business, because that lever is the biggest single lever I can pull to grow the value of the business. And here's what I did. I brainstormed all the things I could think of that could kill my business. And I made a list of them in a Google sheet. This is mega sophisticated stuff. This is high-end business corporate planning. I then asked my team, hey guys, what's all the things you can think of that could kill or hurt our business? And they made the list twice as long. And I went down the list and sorted it in roughly into order. And once a week, usually on a Monday, I pull the list up and go, is there anything on that list I can tackle today? Is there anything I can move forward? And I just try and keep crossing one off. And every week, actually in my case, I highlight it blue. I fill the cell blue to say it's done. And I cross one off. I got an email 30 minutes before we came on this call from our intellectual property lawyer in New York who we hired recently, who is currently filing trademarks for our brand names. Mm-hmm. We've been InvisiblePPC for 5 years. We're finally registering the trademark on the brand name.
Yeah.
Does that increase the value of our business? A little bit, yes. Does it decrease the risk of somebody impersonating us? Yes. Does it stop somebody bidding on our brand name in Google Ads, which they have before? Yes. It's a simple thing. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. A lot of things you can solve for free, but that one, it's cost me a couple of $1,000s to fix it. So, don't anybody think that they have to do some big kind of grand plan for this. A Google sheet and a list of things to do and cross them out. It's as complicated as it needs to get.
Yeah. We do projects every quarter. So we pick projects that need to be addressed in the business every 90 days, and then people are responsible to fulfill those projects. So we're in big hiring mode at the moment. We're scaling our sales team. So there's a huge push on operations, structures. We've got people with databases, all that sort of stuff. So we actually pull a project off that, like you say, it's a Google Doc. We're using the same advanced technology and highly sophisticated systems right there. And then we just pull off, okay, this month or this project is a key part of the asset build for the business. We built software, all these things come into play, but they all add, one, they minimize the risk, and two, they add a significant value to the actual business as an asset in and of itself. And you talk about trademarking. Yes, trademarking your name or your business name is something that is very important and is becoming more and more important as we speak, because you want to, we're in the digital world, and if we don't protect our assets both digitally and offline at the same time, I've had people who have been trading on a particular name, and all of a sudden a company who's also been trading on a very similar name just has stated, then it becomes like, who was first, right? Literally went to the company and said, you need to cease and desist trading in your business under this name. We own the intellectual property, we own the trademark. You need to stop using your name. So they had to rebrand their business, change their name, change all their marketing, communication, they had to take down all their videos. They had to literally remove all their intellectual that they'd built as an asset in their business off the interwebs, purely because they shared a name with a company. Now, I've also seen situations where people actually have fought in court to own the right for their name. And that can be very expensive. So I think the cheapest you can get a trademark these days is about $300. But if you get a lawyer, it will cost you about, to do it properly, to make sure you get go through the process effectively, you're probably looking at about $2,000 to $2.5 grand on average. Let me tell you, it is worth doing. It is worth investing in your brand and your name, because that becomes a significant asset, and it becomes recognizable. It is your uniqueness. So owning a trademark also adds value to the business as well. So if you have a name,
don't do it yourself unless you really have to.
Don't do it yourself.
I think.
Yeah, go get a loan. But
here was my.
all those sorts of things.
Yeah, I'll tell everybody my selection process for finding a lawyer for a trademark. By the way, finding a lawyer for a trademark is not fun. Here's what I did. I was at Traffic and Conversion Summit in February. I walked past the booth, and there was a guy who was a lawyer with a special on trademark lawyering. So I hired him.
There's plenty of them around.
Yeah, and that was as complicated as it got. And sometimes it's just a case of, I could have prevaricated and walked away and gone, he wants to charge me $997 to do this. Maybe I can find somebody else who'd do it for $797. And in 6 months' time, I still wouldn't have done anything. It's like, I had a chat. He seemed like a nice guy. They seem to know what they're doing. It was $997. They've been very efficient. If anybody wants to know who they are, I'll put them in touch with them. But it was a really simple process, and they've been very effective so far. I don't have a trademark yet, but it's in process.
So documentation too, Rob.
Yeah.
Contracts, agreements, all those things are vital.
Just come back to those in a minute, John. Hold that thought for 1 second.
Yeah.
Just before we finish off on brand names, make sure, even if you don't use them yet, you have your Facebook page, your Twitter account, your Instagram, all these social media outlets. Make sure that you've got all the ones in your company name, your brand name, the names that you use, even if you don't plan to use it today. Take 10 minutes after this call, go and register every single one of them. And that just means that at some point in the future, when somebody's looking through your books and say, I'm thinking of buying you, but I see that somebody else has already got your Facebook or your Twitter, that's a problem. You don't have that conversation. So it'll take you 10 minutes, get it done if you haven't already.
I just put a link in the chat. It's called knowem.com. You can actually put your brand or name or whatever into a search, and it'll tell you all the accounts that are available. And I think for as little as $69, they'll actually distribute your content to all the sites and actually create a registration for you for the one you can actually pick and choose, so you can actually protect yourself. So it takes like 30 seconds to do this. If you go to knowem.com, it's really cool.
Okay. Yeah. I think I just got top trumped on the how to handle your social media, but I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it covers literally hundreds. Like I think it's about 200 channels that it'll search for. So and it does it in seconds. It's really cool.
Okay, I didn't expect to rock this call with tasks myself, but I now have tasks.
Yeah, very, very important to own your brand. So yes,
So let's move on for that, John. Thank you for that. Thank you for indulging me. You are absolutely sensibly moving on to something back to lawyering again, but really important: contracts.
Yeah. These days, there are services out there in the world which are really cool. Rocket Law is one of them. Zoom Legal is another. And you can actually get a packet of agreements together. And that packet could be, it might only cost you $300 or $400 to get a packet. And that could be your terms and conditions, contractor hires, non-disclosure agreements, your service agreement, as part of your structure. And there's also things like your privacy policies, all the disclaimers, all those sorts of things need to be taken in consideration. In the Western world, we live in a highly litigious society, and so it's really important you get your documentation correctly. And the beautiful thing about some of these aggregated services like Zoom and Rocket is they'll actually create the contracts for your state, because in the United States, there are 50 states, and they all have different freaking requirements on their agreements. So you can actually have those automatically tailored to your state. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on documentation. Now these days it's a lot more inexpensive. So if you use those aggregators, it's really important. But there's one other thing that you need as a consultant, and that is errors and omissions insurance. Most consultants...
Before you tell me more about it, John, who on this call has errors and omissions insurance? Give me a yes if you've got it.
EO insurance is what it's called.
Yeah, EO. I'm going to count the yeses. There are not many yet. I'll give you 5 more seconds.
No,
we have two
yes.
yeses. And I don't care whether you have, three, we've got 3. I don't care if you have 1 client or 1,000 clients. John, what do they need to do?
Okay, so it is basically indemnity insurance for consultants and coaches and creatives. It's not very expensive, actually. I think you can do it. You pay for the amount of risk that you want to mitigate on your service. So what EO or errors and omissions insurance is essentially that, for example, if you're running a Facebook ad and for whatever reason the company feels that you've destroyed their name or hurt their business in any way, they can sue you. Now, if you have errors and omissions insurance, that can be taken care of. Generally, you would probably get up to $5 million coverage, is probably be the average, but that would cover any legal costs or any issues that you may or may not have with a client. And let me tell you, anything can happen. Anything can happen and anything will happen. So it is important that you do have your errors and omissions insurance. And generally the cost is anywhere between $900 for about $2.5 million worth of coverage. I think it's about $1,800 is about the average. $1,800 gives you between $5 and $7 million, $7.5 million in coverage. There are 2 main providers of EO insurance. All you do is look up for errors and omissions insurance, and those companies will pop up. I don't work for those companies. I'm not going to mention their names. Or but
and if you're in the UK, it's called.
Must have, sorry,
if you're in the UK, it's called professional indemnity. Same thing. It's called.
Yeah, in Australia it's called professional indemnity. In America it's called errors and omissions, because there are actually categories of insurances or indemnity insurances that are available. So all people in the business, that fee is an annual fee, Michael. Yes. Anywhere between $1,000 and $1,800 is an annual fee. You can certainly spend more than that depending on the levels of insurance. But as a business owner, 1, you need your documentation, you need your terms and conditions, you need your agreements. 2, you need to be insured. And here's the thing, if you let your clients know you are, then they're more likely to choose you as opposed to somebody who isn't. That's the other part of this. If you're doing work for government or bigger businesses, they will want to know that you're protected, or that more importantly, that they're protected. So errors and omissions insurance can actually work in your favor to generate clients, because so many agencies and so many consultants out there don't actually have it. And this is a really big problem. So it shows that you're a professional business if you do have it. It shows your professionalism if you have terms and conditions and agreements. There is compliance. because companies are going to ask. Having non-disclosure documentation, having that, there are going to be companies that will ask you for non-disclosure agreements. All those sorts of things. These fundamental things can be very inexpensively purchased through Zoom or through Rocket, Zoom Legal or Rocket Law, and they'll even set the contracts up with your name, your state, your law, and you can actually select all the inclusions that you have. It's a really cool system to use. But these are things as an asset to your business that are important, because if you do have these in place, then you're in compliance. You're in compliance with doing business in your state or in your country, and you're in compliance with protecting yourself and your client's interests. And this is very important from a business perspective.
And I think I just add to that as well. Just for those of you who don't know, for anybody who does any business in any way with Europe at all at the moment, you can't help but see something called GDPR coming out at the moment, which is a data protection law that affects all of Europe and anybody doing business with people in Europe. So it's a big deal. Here's something that's going on. The law isn't even out yet for another month, but we are already seeing reports of this is where it's going to go. There are firms being set up and being equity funded who their mission in life is to submit personal contact data through website forms of businesses in the EU, wait for that business then to treat their data in any way non-compliant, and the moment they do, file immediate legal claim against them and threaten them with a class action. Or they'll go away for several thousand. Those businesses are being set up already to go out and ambulance chase a law on the basis that they know that the vast majority of businesses will not be compliant, and they would much prefer for it to go away with a couple of thousand in cost than to be taken to court, because it's terrifying. The fines and things that the government's levying are not the important bit. The scary bit is that. And that's just one example of how getting your compliance in order, it might be boring, and it really is boring. I don't care. But every time you do one of these boring things, you put a line through another risk on your business checklist on your Google sheet, in your Google Doc. You feel better. You sleep better at night. That's one less thing that can kill you. And that's an ambulance chaser that isn't going to make any money out of your business. Yeah.
And the other thing also with the GDPR, because there is a lot of scariness happening around that, and there's a lot of ambiguity in the law. But one thing that and this is the common thing that's coming up with, these are people in commerce, legal, that are actually talking about this law at the moment. If you're reaching out to companies, as long as what you're offering is relevant, and can be helpful, you're okay.
Yeah, you have a legitimate interest.
Sorry?
It's called legitimate interest. And
there's legitimate interest. Yeah. So as long as you comply, as long as what you're stating is of benefit and of value and is legitimate interest, you can communicate with those companies. If Absolutely. You're spamming people, where it's going to crush people is all the people that are hitting, like insurance companies and all those sorts of companies that spam the crap out of the market. They're the people that are going to be hit the worst. But if there are rules, and if you know what the rules are, you can still do what you're doing today. It's just that you must comply with that key factor, that you have relevance and interest. That's the key.
Yeah.
So yes, you need to know. You need to know this. You need to protect yourself against this, so that you do minimise the risk in your business.
Now, I want to shift gear, John, a bit if I can. I want to shift gear to something. If everybody, I know we've been talking legal stuff. Let's move on for a little bit without quite leaving it behind. One of the best things you can do to improve the value of your business, and full disclosure, I don't do it at all, but also have a better experience running your business, is to have contracts with your clients that tie them in.
Yeah,
and tie them in because you're delivering a service rather than not. So if step one of this is having a legal document, step two is structuring and organizing your business in a way that you sell services that over time, even if not on day one, you can transition them into longer term contracts because, hey, who wants to buy a business when the customers are on a long-term contract? That's a lot less risky and a lot more valuable than one on month to month. So if you want to sell it, get them on a long contract. John, do you want to talk about the commercial angles and the positioning you can take to make those deals possible and real? Because many people in the agency space think it's month to month or nothing. You can't do a contract.
Yeah. Okay. So in our agency business, we have a 12-month agreement. We don't call it a contract. It's still a contract, but it's an agreement. And it's an agreement they're going to pay their bills for 12 months. And if they choose to leave at any time, they lose access to all our intellectual property, they lose access to our systems, but they must pay their contract out because they've agreed for the 12 months. So if they leave 3 months in, they've got to pay the other 9 months. And we will chase them for the 9 months. We make it very clear that they are agreeing for 12 months to be in our business. Now, you can structure this a different way. You can sign up for a 12-month agreement, but you can get out after 90 days. But after the 90-day period, you automatically, if it goes to the 4th month, it automatically just bills in. So that way they can trial you for 90 days, but they've still agreed to sign up for a 12-month agreement. That's another way to do it. Another way to do it is to do that in the reverse. At 90 days, they automatically, if they keep going, they automatically, on the 4th payment, accept a 12-month agreement. So if everything's okay and that 4th payment hits, they've accepted to stay for the next 12 months from that date. Right, so that's another way to structure it. But having contracts and agreements, we have intellectual property and systems that we use. We rent a funnel. We don't sell a funnel. We don't set up a landing page and then do some email and Facebook. We actually have, a back-end email marketing system. We have a front-end funnel that is the same funnel for everybody. Every one of our 165 clients have the same funnel, right? But they rent it. They don't own it. We own it. If they choose to stop, they lose everything. They lose the advertising, they lose the asset, they lose all the systems, and then all they're left with is a CSV file. So what this does is it's in their best interest. The other side of this, by the way, we have a system that actually works, actually gets results, and we have a guarantee in place to make sure that they're protected. So this is not all about us taking advantage of the situation. This is making sure that we know we've got a robust system that works and we can duplicate that, and we have guarantees in place to duplicate that, and the client will benefit from that. However, it makes it very difficult for a client to leave if they lose the asset. It makes it's and by the way, we used to have a churn, full disclosure here, we had a churn rate of about, this is going back about 9 months ago, we had a churn rate of about 7%. That means that we would lose $1 million worth of revenue, annualized revenue, every 3 months. That is a disaster for a business, right? Now, when we started instituting the agreements in the way that we did, we now have a 0 churn rate. The only churn happens if they sell out of their business and the new owner doesn't decide to continue, and there's an out clause in the contract for a business sale, right? So now they're locked in. And so our churn rate is 0. We just did an event in Anaheim with our members, our clients. We offered them to continue their contracts 9 months in. So they're 9 months into their agreement. And we sit there and say, listen, these are the things that we're doing. This is what's happening. The system's improving. Are you going to stay with us? Are you in? If you are, you need to sign up and agree today. And so 3 months before their 12-month contract is over, they've agreed to continue on. And that now we have a 0 churn rate, because everybody looks at everybody and says, well, Jesus, some of these people, I know them. It's working. We're growing at 20 to 30% rate in our business. Why would we leave, right? Yes, we'll sign up. So we've been able to take a churn rate of 7%, which is very high, down to 0% by having a 12-month agreement, opening to ongoing agreements. We want to keep our clients the next 3, 5, 7 years. Yeah. So yes, having long-term contracts is incredibly valuable to the business. A lot of people position contracts incorrectly because they client sees it, I'm going to sign up for 12 months and, I'm kind of taking a risk here because I don't know if you're going to help me get the result, right? So in your agreements, you would actually address some of those issues in your agreements. But more importantly, the way we position it is we say, hey, this is how every client that we work with, we're working in partnership and we work in a long-term relationship with our clients. Our agreement is for 12 months. That is the standard agreement that we have. We don't do 6 months. We don't do 90 days. It is a 12-month agreement. So you decide here and now that we're going to be helping you and working with you and providing you with all the systems and strategies that we know work for others in your market, and you're making a decision on that investment and for that long-term relationship. And most of them go, yeah. In fact, I would say 98% of them have no question about it. The 2% that do come round, right? So they'll sit there and go, yeah, look, okay, let's do it. Yeah. So because the alternative, plan B, is you don't have the system. Plan B is you don't have the structure, you're not getting the results, it's not working for you. Plan B is doing what you're doing right now, not getting what not heading in the direction you want to get to. So we become plan A based on offering a 12-month agreement.
And it's a really smart thing to do. And I think it's for many digital marketing agencies, I know it's Veronica comments that she's month to month, and I understand, Veronica, you're in the vast majority here. Most people, I suspect, on this call are offering monthly agreements because a monthly is a really easy thing to sell up front. Hey, come in, try it. Personally, my preference is always that an absolute minimum arrangement you want to be doing with somebody is 90 days because we know digital marketing life cycle, typically there is a ramp up period. And I would always suggest everybody start with the premise that you're going for 12 months. Give people opportunity to escape if they need to after a period of time, if it's appropriate. Say 90 days is a good time to do it. Yeah, 12 months with a 90-day opt-out, as David suggests, is a great way to do it. But pre-frame the conversation. We're expecting this to be a 12-month agreement. It's going to work. If after 90 days there's a problem, then we understand we're part as friends. But you pre-frame the pace of the outcome as well. So you pre-frame what you're going to deliver. You deliver absolute best. We know, we see it every single day in our business, that when we lose clients, we lose them in the first 90 days. In our business, once you hit 90 days, there is an 80% chance you will hit 6 months. And if you hit 6 months, there is a 95% chance you will still be there in a year. So it becomes a 90-day client management project. Love that client to the best of your ability for 90 days. Go above and beyond to deliver results and experience as much as results. Because particularly in that ramp-up period, it's as much about how you make them feel as it is about the result that you deliver for them. And then they'll stay forever. And you've got them on a long-term contract then. Your business is now less risky. Your business is now more valuable.
HubSpot used to have this problem where their clients churned after 30 days. And the reason why they churned after 30 days is because they gave after 90 days. The reason why the clients churned after 90 days is because they only gave them a 90-day option. And so after 90 days, they go, well, we haven't been using this system well enough. We haven't been integrating properly. I think we're just out. And so then they changed that from you're investing in a 12-month program. And there was no more 90 days. So they went from short term rather than because they thought, if we can keep them on for 3 months, they're going to stay. What happened was they would only stay for 3 months because that's all they offered was 3 months. All right. So they changed the language with the client, and that made a huge difference to their business. So HubSpot, and they weren't cheap. HubSpot's not cheap. Their churn rate was horrendous until they changed the model to getting people to agree to a 12-month agreement.
Yeah,
a lot of companies do this, by the way. A lot of companies are back into the 12-month agreement. I mean, if Design Pickle started off with month-to-month contracts. Now they're selling annual contracts. And 70% of their clients take an annual contract. So, and it's more expensive if they take the 6-month contract or they take the 3-month contract. It's way more expensive. So they've got a longer term relationship with their clients. Yeah. So huge asset build. If somebody comes in and sees that you've got agreements over a 12-month period, that means you've got guaranteed income, predictable income.
And it's got nothing to do with what you sell. It's got everything to do with how you sell. The service
Yeah,
can be
absolutely.
identical, just positioned differently. And
Yeah.
potentially, there'll be some people who won't sign it. If somebody won't sign it, then either they don't trust you, or they're going to be a low-quality client who wants to come in and play at having a go at it, but they're not really committed to the process. Either way, that's a client you can live without and somebody you'll be better finding a different one for. So
Yeah.
it tends to self-qualify better quality, longer-term clients because that's who it appeals to. It's all about how you sell, not what you sell. Speaking of selling, John.
Yes.
So, go on, did you have something to say before I move on?
Yeah, one of the things that you also want to see is, and it's something that's really important, is that you want to become a sales-driven organization. And what I mean by a sales-driven organization is that if you don't have a consistency or create the track record of consistently bringing in clients through systems and structures, what eventually happens is you end up with cycles, dip cycles, and having dip cycles in your business raises the hairs on the back of investors' necks because they see that there's an inconsistency in the evidence of how you have sustained growth. So that's why if you look at every company on the planet that is a sales-driven organization, they're the ones that are outperforming everybody else in the market. If you look at companies that are process-driven, right, they're the ones that underperform everybody in the market. They're the ones that have the gaps. So it's really, really vital that it's the number one thing. And I've had conversations with Robert Herjavec on this on a couple of occasions where he slapped me around the ear. He's the Shark Tank, one of the Shark Tank guys. And he said, look, John, when times are good, sales above all else. When times are bad, sales above all else. Consistently have to be driven by sales. And how you change and how you evolve and how you create opportunities is to be consistent as a sales-driven organization. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It will never work if you aren't focused on that aspect of your business. Most people in the agency world are very reactive and very passive. Referrals, inbound, very reactive. But if you look at, let's look at VaynerMedia. How do you go from $0 to $150 million agency in 9 years, selling social media content, and the majority of clients are solopreneurs? The average client is investing between $125,000 and $250,000 in VaynerMedia services to create social media content for their customers. Now, if you go to VaynerMedia, which I've been to their offices down at the Hudson Yard in New York, you will see this huge area, and it completely dominates the building. The area is sales. It's a massive bullpen of sales, right? Not creative, not content creators, not systems builders, sales, right? That's what drives that organization and drives that company. And if I look at other businesses, my friend Nathan Berry, who runs ConvertKit, his whole business revolves, the reason why they've been able to grow their business so significantly in such a short period of time is sales. You look at Clay Collins, and I remember when he started Lead Pages. Lead Pages went from $0 to $25 million in revenue in less than 2 years. In less than 2 years, right? Because they were a sales-driven organization. Look at ClickFunnels. Our friend Russell Brunson, his company, $80 million in revenue. That's happened in the last 4 years. 4 years, $80 million in 4 years. Right? Because they're a sales-driven and driven organization. So you as an agency owner or builder needs to understand that if you want to grow, scale, achieve the things that you want to achieve and create the opportunities you want to create, you want to be a sales-driven organization. Otherwise, it just ain't going to work.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Yeah. A repeatable, predictable sales system is what it's all about, because it's interesting. If you're in a business where you do not have that sales machine, then you do not control the revenue you're going to make that month. You rely on what walks towards you. You rely on referral. You rely on somebody saying, "Hey, I've got a project. I've got a thing. You can't control if you get one of those or 100 of those, whether they're good or bad. If you control the flow, you control the rate that you grow at. And the great thing is you can measure every step of the way, and you can improve every step of the way. And then it becomes fun. If you've got a process in place that you're getting better and you're measuring and you're learning, you're playing a game, then the game's called Get Better at Sales. So I want to transition slightly and just give the opportunity to talk about something going on in about a month from now, actually.
Yeah.
And by the way, I hope
can I share my screen, Rob?
So far, because we know approaching a business this way, approaching it with the mindset of an owner, not a manager, approaching it with the mindset of building something that you might someday sell, or you might not. In fact, a guy said to me, one of my very, very dear friends, said to him, John, look, one day I'd really like to sell this business, and he said, why? I said, well, we'll take some cash, have a nice time, have some freedom. He went, if you're making enough money each month, that buys a lot of peace of mind, and a lot of comfort, and a lot of freedom. You don't have to. You can have a freedom within your business just by building your business the right way as an owner, not a manager. And I kind of took a step back and thought, I never thought of that. I thought the only way you get to have fun is to have the payday at the end. You don't. Why not enjoy the journey? And then you can decide if you want to get off or not, or you just keep going.
Yeah. You can always sell half the company for as much as you can sell the entire company.
Yeah.
And still keep the business. You can sell half of your company for the full valuation of your company and still keep the business going. Absolutely. Still keep an asset. So
John,
if I can check,
let's move gears a bit, because you and I are going to have some fun in a few weeks' time.
Yes, and also I just wanted to, from the recap point of view, we've actually covered, I just want to, for those of you listening and for the sake of the video, we've covered multiple aspects of building an asset and building a business. We talked about hiring an operations manager to actually scale and build the systems in place to build value or valuable asset in your business. We talked about managing your, building systems around your intellectual property, owning your brand, trademarking your services. We talked about building an asset through your hiring the right team to be able to leverage your business and looking at different areas that need to be evolved as an asset: finance, marketing, operations, customer support. So you're building an asset. We talked about having 12-month agreements and contracts that also build value. We talked about building systems that are intellectual property, your processes and methodologies that you actually document and protect, that are part of the operational structure of your business, that also build value for what you do. We also talked about sales being super important, making sure that you protect your social media channels. We shared a resource that you can go and get all your social media taken care of very inexpensively, and also your insurances, your legals, your compliance, which is really important. All of these things are a scalable, valuable business that, if you put these things in place, will work without you running them. The idea is for you to manage, to actually work on your business, to be the strategist for your business, as opposed to being the person who's actually hands-on, putting out the fires. That's what you want other people to do. You want other people to minimize those risks in your business, so that you're actually building a saleable asset. So that's what we've covered in this time that we've had, which is just on an hour. Now, Rob's mentioned something that we're doing in next month in Austin, Texas, funnily enough. Veronica says she loves a webinar. That's really cool. I really appreciate that, Veronica. The key here, I just want to share, I'll share my screen and I'll just walk people through as to what we're doing, Rob.
I'm aware that while you're getting that on the screen, so if anybody missed the start, I'm sat in an Airbnb in Chicago kicking off a project over here. And as this webinar's going on, I realized I turned the light on above my head. I'm going to show you this. Before we start, I thought it might get slightly dark in here, so I'll turn the light on and that will be fine. So I turned on this very nice chandelier, and look what light I got off it.
Nothing.
I've seen Christmas tree lights that are brighter than this thing. So as you probably saw when I ran off about 5 minutes ago, so I was trying to desperately figure out where the light switches are in here. So I actually looked.
Yeah. I can understand that. That's very cool. So I'll just share my screen very quickly. You should be able to see my screen here as we speak. And I'm going to hit the play button. So we have Consulting Unleashed Live in Austin, Texas on the 26th and the 27th of May. The purpose of this event is to fast track the growth of your agency or your consulting business by implementing real time. I'm going to explain what that means in just a moment. So because it's a very unique event, it's something that we do intermittently. In fact, I've been running these types of events now for about 4 years. But from a consulting point of view, the idea is to get people to actually build client opportunities out of the live event. So to give an example of what happens, we had Ball Deep here who generated $15,000 straight out of a live event out of New York City. We had Jeff here who did $90,000 deals straight out of a live event that he came to as well. Basically running his SEO business and selling, can you imagine selling SEO for $90,000? That was huge. So we had Dan Meredith, $500,000 worth of revenue in 4 months from a live event. So this is what we're doing. We're teaching people how to target niche markets, a strategy on how to engage markets very quickly. We're doing fast action and tactical list generation and engagement. This is from the event. 90-day plan to generate 100 to 200K, an action plan out of the event. Strategic alliances, how you can engage other people's databases to open the door to generating clients. I'm going to show you how to do that. How to engage big clients from events, conferences, and trade shows. And also how you can scale fast by using resource partners like Rob at the live event. Now, this is what happens at the event. There is a section on the first day, and we do a strategy where we are generating client opportunities and actual money sales on day one of the event. We spend a half day doing this on the first day, where you are going to be generating appointments, and some of you may even generate sales. We had Vlad here who did $40,000 worth of sales in 24 hours by applying the strategy live at the event. Now, the way this works is I will actually craft and create a campaign for you personally at the event live in real time that you will launch and actually see the results. We do a debrief within 24 hours the next day to see what happens. We had $70,000 worth of sales from one person. We literally had to leave the room within 3 minutes of pressing the button. They went and closed a $30,000 deal, and they went and closed another $70,000 within 48 hours for the event. We had somebody do $80,000 in sales overnight with cash in bank from the campaign live at the event. So this happens on the first day. It is in real time. Everybody gets to do this. It's a full participation in the room, but I will actually create a campaign for you, for your service, to go out to the market for this event. So we've got Nick. These are some of the people who are going to be sharing some of their secrets. Nick Robbins, one of our consulting champions, who's using a strategy that I helped him with to generate more than $2 million worth of revenue in 9 months. In his business, is going to be sharing that strategy at the live event. So Nick is one of my consulting champions. He's going to give you a play-by-play of what he did, how he did it, and how they were able to generate more than 260K monthly recurring revenue in less than 6 months. We've got Chandler Bolt, who's going to be talking about how to build the ultimate authority to attract consulting clients. He is the founder of Self-Publishing School. He built that business from $0 to $3 million in less than 2 years. He's published 6 best-selling books in 3 years. And he's also a mentor to thousands of entrepreneurs. And he's going to actually show you how you can build your authority very quickly in the market with some of the strategies that he's learned, that he's implemented in his business as well. We have our very own Rob Warner here on how to scale your agency with resource partners. So fastest way to have systems and fulfillment by utilizing resource partners, how to get the best results from your outsourcers, so how you build that relationship with resource partners so that you have them and enable them to scale, and then how to support and nurture your clients so that they stay with you for years to come. So Rob is very kindly going to be presenting at Consulting Unleashed
and
Live.
Rob will definitely not be wearing that bloody awful shirt.
Yeah, we've also got Keith Krantz. So those of you who don't know who Keith Krantz is, Keith Krantz runs the #1 podcast on Facebook agency and marketing with Molly Pittman, who is the head of strategy for Digital Marketer, and also Ralph Burns, who is the head of Tier 11. They have under management millions of dollars worth of Facebook funds in advertising every single month. He's probably one of the preeminent Facebook strategists. He's actually the co-author of the Ultimate Facebook Ad Guide with Perry Marshall, and he's going to be talking about using Facebook strategies to generate clients, consulting clients, power of targeting, and scaling your, if you're doing Facebook agency work as well. So he's going to be sharing some really cool stuff, and I've seen Keith present on numerous occasions, and he is one of the best speakers in this space. Certainly somebody who's incredibly knowledgeable because he's in the business as we speak. So the event ticket, normally $14.97 to come to this 2-day event, purely because of the strategies we put in place and the idea of you generating clients. But what we will do is we provide a playbook and a planning tool. We actually create campaigns that you can run. In fact, by coming to the event, you get 2 of my multi-million-dollar campaigns that you can run for your business. And I've had hundreds of consultants around the world use these campaigns to generate tens of thousands, and some of them even hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. So you get that as part of the playbook. So normally $24.97. Because you're part of Invisible PPC, it's only $297 for a ticket. If you use the code InvisiblePPC, you get a ticket to the Austin event for $297. It's 2 days. Breakfast, morning and afternoon teas, and lunch is provided for you at the event, so you're completely looked after. And we also have a bonus. I have 8 seats left for this private dinner with the speakers. That means you get to hang out with me, with Rob, with Chandler, with Keith, and with Nick, and you can ask us all the questions you like on the Saturday evening. It says 12 places. I only have 8 places left for the private dinner. So if you want to hang out with me and the people who are sharing and get some access to probably some of the most preeminent marketers and agency people on the planet, then you can book yourself in. The other thing is, again, the code. When you go to the page of Consulting Unleashed Live, it'll ask you for a code. You can use Invisible PPC, and then it will only cost you $297 for that live event. Now, we have consultants flying in from Australia. I have 11 of my consulting champions coming to this event. A number of these are running 7-figure businesses. They are also going to be sharing tactics, ideas, and strategies on how they run their businesses at the live event. So if you want to hang out with consultants from around the world who are actually building, scaling, and doing, and taking their businesses to the next level, if you're looking to boost your revenues significantly and quickly from the live event, I highly encourage you to come along. If you're looking to have me craft a campaign in real time, I did at the last event in New York, and I think Rob missed this, but at the last event in New York, I did over 60 campaigns in 2 hours. 60 campaigns. More than 200 appointments were generated within 24 hours. We had people generating sales at the actual live event, and so you'll actually have access to this live strategy. So in the first day, we do real-time client generation, client direct offer. There are 3 types of offers that I create, and then you can actually apply and implement these strategies. So with that, I'm going to go back to Rob here, if you've got any questions. So if you go to consultingunleashedlive.com, use the coupon code InvisiblePPC, $297. It is a no-brainer.
Yeah. Let me just comment on that as well, John. I've known John, and I've known the events that John's run for some time now, and the feedback that everybody I know who gets involved with them just says, these are just events that change your business. And it's as simple as that. You know, I have not seen any other program anywhere where you get to go walk through the door and take actions while in the room at an event that fundamentally change the growth path your business is on and come out with money in the bank. Now, to me, that's just a crazy thing to be able to achieve in the context of a training environment. And so, you know, whenever anybody asks me, who should I be talking to for, you know, growing my agency, I point at John, because it's the smartest way to go. And, you know, these are real life results. I mean, Nick and I had, who John mentioned, who's one of his guys who added 2 million onto his business. I had a long chat with him in New York last September time at one of John's events. And it was really simple. Nick said, John told me what to do. I did it. And my business grew by 2 million. It's kind of, don't try and second guess this. Just do what it says because it works. And I'm really, really excited to be there. I've been to one of John's events previously. My team have been to one of John's events previously, but I've never been there as a speaker before. And I'll be there as a speaker and hanging out at the event. And so my personal, one of the things I want to do is I like to hang around in rooms of smart people. So I want to be there, hang out, see what you guys are up to, see what you're learning, see what you're doing, see what your challenges are, see what your opportunities are, and help solve as many of them as I can. And if nothing else, just buy you a beer. So either way, I just want to be there and hang out and have some fun with you guys, and then let's help your businesses grow faster.
As I said, 8 seats left for the dinner. That is the bonus that I have available. So if you do jump in and grab a ticket, you will get an invitation to that private dinner on the Saturday evening of the event. Let me tell you, the conversations that will be had at that table will be worth their weight in gold in terms of your business opportunities. And as I said, this is probably one of the fun things that I do is I get to hang out with people who are, wanting new ideas, new approaches, who are looking to grow, who are looking to excel in what they do. Austin is a cool place. If you haven't been to Austin, it's one of the best cities in the United States. It has huge entertainment, lots of fun things to do. We are 1 block away from the famous 36th Street in Austin, which has probably some of the best bands and bars and restaurants on the planet. It's a really cool city to hang out in. Great for innovation, great for people who are artists. But if you haven't been to Austin, well worth coming along. We do have a conference rate. If you book in, you'll get access to a conference rate for accommodation as well, so you'll get a discount there. We are literally right in downtown, so we're 1 block from 6th Street, where all the action is happening. And and so, as I said, it's a great way to network. We've got consultants coming from all over the world to be here. We've got some amazing people presenting. But more importantly, the purpose of this event is for you to apply, generate strategies that work, that have worked, and get results in real time, to get clarity, to get focus, to get out of the gate and give yourself a boost and a burst in your business. There is no filler at this event. It is all real-time strategies that people are using, like myself, to grow their businesses. So if you want access to those sorts of things, if you want my playbook, if you want my campaigns that have generated millions of dollars worth of sales, and you want the strategies to be able to scale and grow, for $297, which is absolutely ridiculous as a price point. My team is very upset with me at the moment for giving away this deal. But for me, I think I want to make it as easy as possible for you to get there, and more importantly, for you to actually benefit from what we're going to be sharing at the live event. So I'm super excited to have Rob speaking as well, because one of the things I love about InvisiblePPC is there's very few resource partners that I work with that are committed to improving the systems, the strategies, the support, and the training of the clients that it is helping to grow and scale. And that's why I'm a huge, huge advocate and supporter of Rob and his team.
No, thanks, John, and I appreciate it. And likewise, that's why we're here, because we believe in the methods that get taught and the results people get. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but Michael says, I was at John's NY event. Someone generated a sale within 10 minutes of sending out John's campaign. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Kyle, I wrote that campaign on the stage. Actually, I'll tell you the story about that so you can appreciate, for those of you who are still here watching this video, those who will watch this video later. Kyle, one of our attendees at that event, I crafted literally a campaign on the spot for his market. He sent that to a cold list, a list that was dead and cold. And I think there weren't that many emails. I think it was like 120 emails he sent it out to. Within 2 minutes, somebody responded back to him saying, I need to talk to you, right, from the campaign. And then within half an hour, 45 minutes, he came back into the room with an agreement and a deposit literally within 45 minutes from the live campaign. We had people generating appointments. We had people having to get up and take calls from the live campaign. So, and the funny thing was that Kyle, he went and shared the email that I crafted with a business partner that was in another state, and the business partner said, "No way, we can't send that email out. That's just, that's crazy, right?" But thankfully, Kyle didn't listen to the business partner and just pressed send anyway. And then an hour later, he calls a business partner and said, "Hey, we landed a 30 grand client off that email." So they ended up with $72,000 in sales off that one email. So that's the sort of thing that can happen live. We've had people, I think the most appointments somebody generated is about 30 appointments in 24 hours. It was amazing. We had people who were getting contact with CEOs of major corporations that were getting on the phone with them in the campaign in real time. So getting access to billion-dollar corporation CEOs who respond to an email campaign straight out of the room. That's happened on many occasions. We've had people who've sold products and services where cash money was deposited in the accounts purely by making an offer to the market. So yeah, it's designed to, the reason I do this live is to show you how quickly you can actually generate revenue and how quickly you can generate sales opportunities. The idea is to not faff around and think about all the things that you need to put into place and all the ducks that you need to put in a row to make something happen, but to actually take action fast and see an immediate response or result from the action you take. And so it is not uncommon for people to actually make that's a lot of actions, to actually make a lot of money in live in the room. If you want me to work on a campaign live for you? Yeah.
If anybody hasn't got this by now, it's pretty damned awesome when you can go to an event and come back with cash in your pocket. I have a rule that when I travel, I like to travel and be cash positive. And I don't know any easier way to do it than that John's just described. A couple of questions that are important that you want to answer. So first of all, Ed Scott said he's in. He's just paid. How does he get the hotel discount?
The hotel discount will be emailed to you, so you'll get the hotel discount emailed to you.
David Scott said he's coming too. David, I can't wait to see you, my friend. It's been great to catch up properly in person. Although David and I follow each other's life stories on Facebook, and David's is far more interesting than mine. So make sure when someone speaks to David, you get a beer off him because he's got some interesting stories. Brian says, John, what size of companies are you targeting? Local businesses or small to medium-sized budget? Businesses in terms of budget? I think the answer is...
we're targeting businesses from 5 million up. We're targeting businesses $5 million and up. Businesses that have a $250,000 plus budget to invest in marketing services. That's what we're targeting.
Okay,
so
John,
if you're looking for clients who are going to spend $25,000 a month in your services, that's who I'm targeting, if that's what you're looking for.
John, can you do me a favour? Put your slide 30 from your screen on, which shows where to, with the arrow to show where to put the coupon code.
Yes. Yeah. So you'll see on this, when you hit tickets, there'll be enter promotional code, and all you do is enter InvisiblePPC in the code, then it'll automatically allow you to buy the ticket at $297.
Perfect. So if anybody hasn't done that, that's where to go. Gary says he registered a couple of minutes ago and hasn't got the confirmation yet. Gary, if that hasn't come out, we'll check in on that for you straight away.
Yeah, there'll be emails that'll be coming out to you as soon as you'll receive an email of thank you, and also giving you the links to the hotel. We have discounts.
We'll hopefully get a replay out of this tomorrow, by the way, guys. So the replay will be out tomorrow, all things being well. I mean,
yeah.
Just to wrap this thing up, the last couple of minutes, just conscious of time. 2 things from today. Number 1, get yourself to John's event. If you can possibly find any way to be in Austin in a month's time, I'm a great question. Think about your business. Where do you make the best decisions and take the best actions in your business? Is it at your desk? Is it when you're sat in your office doing the busy stuff that has to happen every day? Or is it when you take yourself away from the workplace, step out of it, step back, surround yourself with like-minded, smart people, where you can actually look at it from a broader perspective and make much, much better quality decisions. My experience is, if you want me to make a bad decision about something, stick me on a desk in my office, because that's where my head's doing a million transactional things. It isn't making good quality decisions and taking good quality actions. So as a starting point, take yourself out of your business for a couple of days, get to Austin, surround yourself with good quality people, and make better quality decisions for your business. And you'll get immense value out of that. Second thing is, I hope you've got immense value out of just being here and you think about your business differently. John and I covered in an hour what we could have covered in 5 hours in more detail. But the point is, start thinking about these things. Start thinking like an owner, not a manager. Start thinking like an investor, not somebody with a job. Because the moment you change your mindset and you approach your business differently, your decision-making changes and you start making better decisions, taking better actions. And to be honest, it's a lot more fun being an owner and an investor than it is being a manager. Veronica says, love this webinar. Truly, thank you. Veronica, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to speaking to you very soon and follow up on your message in the chat earlier. So, guys, John, anything you want to say in wrapping up before we jump off? Because we're going to see Brian Blum in May as well.
See you in Austin. If you're serious about growing your business, this is one event that you just don't want to miss. I've got some amazing people coming and sharing their ideas to help you grow. And the whole purpose of this event is to actually, for you to take action in real time and do the one thing that you want to do with your business, and that is to add value to it. And that's really the purpose of our live event. So with that, yeah. And please do, I'd love to know if you've taken some action on some of the things that we've shared today. Because at the end of the day, you know, the purpose of your business is to help people get awesome results at what you do, and the goal of your business is to generate as much revenue and value from engaging your purpose. So with that, I want to thank you all, and thank you, Rob. I really appreciate you putting on this training.
Absolute pleasure. I have a rule in my business that I only expose people to my customers and my partners and people that we work with every day who I truly believe add value to our community and make their life better as a result of that, which is why we're here today, John. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this, and I trust you implicitly know that. Austin says, a very important question. Should he plan on staying late on Sunday?
It finishes at 5 p.m. on Sunday. You know, I'm sure people are going to hang out and go to the bars of Austin. Yeah, for those 2 days, it's going to be pretty full on. Yeah. As I said, we have breakfast in the morning served to you before each day. We have morning and afternoon teas. We have lunches. For those of you who just signed up and bought yourself a ticket, you are in the speakers dinner on the Saturday night. That's going to be a really cool evening to hang out with some pretty amazing people, and especially to spend some time with Rob and Keith, and also Nick and Chandler, who are incredible entrepreneurs. We're talking about some of the people who've had a huge impact on people's lives and businesses over the last, for some of them for the last 10 years. So you're putting yourself in a pretty cool place in relation to access.
And Austin's super cool. And Austin's
a great city.
It's my second favorite.
Easy to get to.
So
yeah, if you're in the right now from Australia, $990 return to Austin. From LA West Coast to Austin right now, return airfares $144. From if you're on the East Coast, New York, I think it's $172. I've seen. I've been looking at the tickets, and it's pretty inexpensive to get return tickets at the moment to Austin. So that's pretty cool. And the weather's awesome this time of year too, by the way.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't destroy you in about 10 minutes in the overwhelming heat you get in sort of July, August.
No, it's probably perfect time for Austin in relation to weather. It's probably the best time of the year. So yeah, it's a great city. And the reason I chose Austin, apart from the fact it's a great city, is because it's kind of in the middle and it's fairly easy for people to get to. There's direct flights out of the UK for $660 with British Airways return right now.
There is. I shall be on one of those exact planes.
Yeah. BA is doing direct flights for $660 return.
Excellent. You do have to fly in the luggage rack for that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Guys,
All right, mate.
I just want to
Thank
say,
you all. I
finally,
really appreciate it.
thank you to everybody. There is no reason not to be in Austin. It's a great place to be. It's easy and relatively affordable to get to. I just thank you all. I hope to see many of you there. And I know from from the chat, there's already a whole bunch of people going to be going there. John, thank you. Appreciate your time today. Whether you come to Austin or not, I hope you got immense value out of being here today. Veronica, I love your feedback. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of the day. I am now utterly exhausted, having been working in Chicago since very early this morning. I'm going to go get a glass of wine and go to bed. And John, you've got the rest of the day ahead of you in sunny Gold Coast. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Nice. Take care. Bye.